We invite you to watch how we clear the views on all matters through our partner station MITV on DSTV channel 255, 7 p.m. daily, and also our YouTube and Facebook pages under one name, Clearview News Desk every day. We call it the People's News, as we are available to come over and cover your events upon notice. Or do you have news you want us to broadcast? Send it in. We verify and go to town with it. All for you. Go ahead, engage us to thrash out those naughty issues on the news. And what we need from you is to share and subscribe. More important, convince your loved ones, friends, relatives, co-worshippers, and more to subscribe so as to be getting notifications as we break the news. Go a step further, like the news, and drop your thoughts on the comment section. Clearview News. We clear the view one time and for all time.
Hello and welcome to Clearview News Desk. We're reaching you live from Nigeria's capital city, Abuja. First, the headlines. After several months of surging, Nigeria Football Federation finally announces German tactician Bruno Labbadia as new head coach of Nigeria's senior men's team, Super Eagles. A tea vendor put self in trouble for alleged murder of a 20-year-old man over accusations of stealing bread, milk, noodles, and petrol in Jigawa State. Tell your officials to desist from blame games. PDP governors advise Tinubu. I am Imefonu Okon with this and more. The Nigeria Football Federation (NFF) has announced German tactician Bruno Labbadia as the head coach of Nigeria's senior men's team, Super Eagles. The NFF General Secretary, Mohamed Sanusi, who made this known in the early hours of Tuesday, added that Labbadia's appointment was with immediate effect. Clearview News correspondent has the details. The Nigeria Football Federation has named German tactician Bruno Labbadia as the new head coach of the Super Eagles, months after the resignation of an indigenous coach, Finidi George. The appointment of the German tactician was confirmed in a statement released by the Nigerian Football Federation. Some sport lovers, in their reactions to the appointment of the new head coach, Bruno Labbadia, said the challenges confronting Nigerian football are not with the coaches.
Bringing foreign coaches is fine. There's nothing wrong with that, if you think that they have the ability to deliver the job. However, I think what happens is, from what I've assessed, that when they actually hire the coaches, they actually don't let them do their job. So you send them a list of players to be on the team, you tell them how they should train, what time they should be trained. So I think that's one of the problems. I know these foreign coaches, they don't have the patience for those kind of activities. Once they say, we're doing this, I'm doing this.
In my own thinking, most times they prefer to go to the foreigners for reasons best known to them and for things they might gain.
Lack of belief, because if we believe on what we have, I think we will not go for foreign coaches, because it was the foreign coach that haven't led us to where we are right now.
Sports lovers therefore advised NFF not to put pressure on the new head coach.
Way forward is what we have done. We'll have a new coach, and we should see how it goes. They should not put a lot of pressure on him, because I know Nigeria now, he has come. They'll be expecting miracles in 2, 3, 6 months, but it doesn't work that way. He needs to understand the players, understand the team. So give him a year or two and see how we could deliver.
Build up our coaches. See, don't just leave them. Say, okay, you coach, go and train yourself and come back. Send them for courses abroad. Let them understand the tactics of the game. If our coaches have been trained properly, you will see them that they will become one of the best. Send them for courses abroad. Then build them up. Then bring them back home and let them handle our national team. If I will get the best.
We should go down to the basics. If you remember very well, some of the best teams we ever had were the ones that were comprised of the Nigerian-based players. I remember very well Westerhoff, the first team he ever took. There was so much opposition because of most of them were indigenous. And I remember very well at a point Westerhoff had to boycott the FA. He was going directly to the presidency. I remember that was why he succeeded, which they are mocha cheese. And that was one of the best teams we ever had, comprising of our local players.
You see, one thing with football or sport in general needs a good sponsorship. Now, if the government can put more resources in sports, it will encourage not only the coach, even the players, take care of their welfare, take care of their needs, so that they can now fight and play for the nation. So I think funding is key.
All the states of the federation, we have abundance of talent everywhere in Nigeria. So it's to start going for talent hunting in every part of Nigeria. For that, he will make it.
So our expectation for him is that he should just go and give us the cup.
They should go around, scout for players who are so agile, who are still not these players that they can't play with all their hearts because they have their hearts somewhere. We expect good outing. That's the first thing.
Labbadia is to become the 37th head coach of the Super Eagles after the resignation of the former coach, Finidi George, who was unveiled as the Eagles coach in May 2024. Recall the Eagles were held 1-1 by South Africa before a shocking 2-1 defeat to the Benin Republic in Abidjan. With Labbadia's appointment, the three-time African champions will seek to boost their chances of qualification. The Eagles will commence their African Cup of Nations qualifiers against Benin Republic on September 7th, and 3 days later slog out against Rwanda. Labbadia, a former Bayern Munich player, was born on February 8, 1966. He has managed several German clubs, including Darmstadt 98, VfB Stuttgart, Bayern Leverkusen, and several others. Imefonokun reporting for Clever News. A tea vendor identified as Abdurashidu Yahu in Jigawa State has allegedly killed a 20-year-old man named Hassan Karuba over accusations of stealing bread, milk, noodles, and petrol. The suspect, who resides in Sarere village, Jigawa Sada town in Duse local government area, is said to have committed the crime on August 19, 2024 at around 5 a.m. The police public relations officer for the Jigawa State Command, DSB Lawan Adam, who confirmed the crime in a statement on Tuesday, said upon receiving the report, a standby patrol team promptly rushed to the scene, apprehended the suspect and conveyed the victim to Rashid Shakoni Teaching Hospital for immediate medical attention. Unfortunately, he noted that on arrival, the medical doctor on duty certified the 20-year-old man dead. His remains were examined, photographed, and later released to his relatives for burial, according to Islamic rites. The suspect admitted during interrogation at the State Criminal Investigation Department, Duse, that the deceased had upset him by stealing his goods to the point where he had informed his parents about it, but nothing had been done. The suspect also added that upon apprehending the deceased, at this point, he made the decision to tie him with a rope and began striking him with a whip in secret. Meanwhile, DSB Adam assured that upon completion of the discreet investigation, the suspect will be diligently arraigned in court to face the full wrath of the law. A tragedy occurred in Lagos on Monday when a fast-moving train crushed a yet-to-be-identified person along the railway tracks at Kaba Oshodi area of Lagos State. The incident, according to an eyewitness, Akin Roland, happened around Monday evening. However, the men at the Lagos State Emergency Management Agency, LASEMA, who rushed to the scene, subsequently recovered the dismembered body of the deceased. The remains have been deposited at the General Hospital mortuary. The People's Democratic Party (PDP) Governors Forum has called on President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to demonstrate statesmanship by directing his officials to avoid engaging in blame games that portray subnational governments negatively. This was disclosed in a communique read by Chairman of the Forum, Bauchi State Governor, Senator Bala Mohammed, at the end of their fourth meeting of 2024 held at the Government House in Jalingo, the Taraba State capital. The report.
Issues of national interest as well as party matters were the major point of discussion at the meeting held by members of the PDP Governors Forum in Taraba State. At the opening session, the forum, under the chairmanship of Bauchi State Governor Bala Mohammed, went into a closed-door meeting, after which it presented a communique on its deliberation to pressmen. Among issues deliberated upon was the application of Section 162, subsection 123 of the Nigerian Constitution to distinguish between the office of the Accountant General of the Federation and the Accountant General of the Federal Government of Nigeria, and calls for more transparency in obeying the Constitution. The communique also criticized the federal government for avoiding a review of policies and resorting to blackmail. It therefore urged President Tinubu to restrain his officials from making ineffective interventions. Meanwhile, the forum reaffirmed its commitment to support Nigerians and address the socio-economic challenges affecting the country effectively.
The forum laments that rather than undertake a review of the macroeconomic and social policies with a view to giving them a human face, the federal government has resorted to blackmail. We call on Mr. President to show statesmanship by restraining his officials from blame games that make the subnationals look bad, by mentioning peaceful interventions piecemeal intervention that cannot solve the problem. We remain unshaken in our firm resolve to stand with the suffering Nigerian masses and to take all legitimate steps to ameliorate their plight.
On the PDP political crisis in Rivers State, the forum reiterated its support for Governor Siminalayi Fubara to take his rightful position of the party's leadership in the state and decried the use of court judgment to determine the party's congresses. The governors also commended Taraba State Governor Agbu Kefas for hosting the PDP Governors Forum meeting, which is the first in the state. The governors hailed the giant steps taken by Governor Kefas to deliver the dividends of democracy to the people of Taraba. Gloria Atta, reporting for Clearview News.
The Director General of the World Trade Organization, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, has stressed the urgent need for Nigeria to move beyond political infighting and inconsistent policies that have hindered the country's development since independence, and instead focus on collective effort to move the nation forward. Okonjo-Iweala said this while delivering a keynote address at the Nigerian Bar Association annual conference held at the weekend in Nigeria's economic hub, Lagos. We have the details.
Often recognized as one of Africa's largest economies, due to its huge reserve of mineral deposits with numerous potentials for economic growth, Nigeria is the largest crude oil exporter and has the largest natural gas reserve on the continent. Despite progress made in socio-economic growth in past years, Africa's most populous country currently faces serious social, economic, and security challenges. Indeed, the country has one of the highest numbers of people living in extreme poverty in the world, with high rate of youth unemployment. In her keynote address titled "A New Social Contract for Nigeria's Future," the Director General of the World Trade Organization, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, said Nigeria today has failed to attain the much-needed socio-economic progress and sustained growth, largely due to a lack of policy consistency and political will from its leaders, and stressed the need for a social contract to set the country on a speedy economic growth and development path rather than an episodic growth path.
A very important part of the explanation for why we've not been able to succeed is lack of policy consistency. Successive administrations failing to continue good, and I emphasize good, economic and social policies put in place by predecessors. allowing politics to frame policy, what we can call the not made in my administration syndrome. We all understand that where policies are bad and not working, of course, politics should intervene. But where things are working to the good, we ask, why fix what is not broken? To minimize the volatility of economic and social policy, and to set our country on a steady growth and development path, rather than an episodic growth path, I have become increasingly convinced that Nigeria needs a social contract. By this I mean a fundamental cross-party, cross-society agreement that certain things in the economy, in the country, in policy and in society are sacrosanct and shall not be touched or changed when administrations change.
Speaking on the issue of insecurity, which has lingered in the country for over a decade, Dr. Okonjo-Iweala decried the weaponizing of insecurity by politicians against their opposition in office, while calling on them to desist from such in the interest of national safety.
We have politicians who believe that the best way to make their opponents look bad is to instigate insecurity, making it look like they can't govern. Regardless of whether this leads to loss of life and property of innocent Nigerians, this has to stop. A second aspect of security relates to security of national assets. Nigerians have seen for years how organized crude oil theft on a massive scale seriously undermines the economic and financial health of the country. All Nigerians must agree that stealing of our national assets of any type is intolerable and must be stopped.
The former Minister of Finance also used the opportunity to call on the civil society and relevant stakeholders to hold political office holders accountable so as to deliver public trust and reshape the destiny of the country. Gloria Atta, reporting for Clearview News.
If you are just joining us, you're watching the news on Clearview News Desk. We'll be back after this break. Stay with us. Welcome back. The European Union has bid farewell to its ambassador to Nigeria and the Economic Community of West African States, Samuela Isobi. In a heart farewell ceremony filled with warmth and nostalgia, friends, colleagues, and government officials gathered to celebrate the remarkable achievement of the ambassador's tenure. Clearview's Florence Joshua was there and now brings us details.
Ambassador Isopi, known for her exceptional leadership and dedication, has experienced on her time in Nigeria, highlighting her robust relationship with her colleagues, the Nigerian government and civil society. She expressed hopes of maintaining those connections, a testament to the strong bonds she built during her tenure.
It is time for me to say arrivederci, which means to say goodbye to my friends. It has been a privilege and an honor to serve the Nigerian people, who have always been at the center of my engagement in Nigeria and of the engagement of the European Union with this great nation. The legacy, Moji was talking about legacy, the legacy that we have created together, because this is something that we have done together over the past 3 years, is strong. And I'm sure it will provide a solid foundation for the relations between the European Union and Nigeria to continue to grow. And now that I'm leaving, I'm even more convinced that the European Union and Nigeria have so much in common. We are neighbors, we are both global players, we stand for the same values, we have so much to give to each other and so much to gain from working together. And this mutual awareness has been at the very heart, at the core of my mission here in Nigeria. Democratic governance in Nigeria, this remains a key aspiration of Nigerian people and Nigerian youth, and remains the best way to build a stronger and better Nigeria. A Nigeria that caters for its people and is the home of all Nigerians. In everything we have done together, our support has always been aimed at proving that all Nigerians, women, youth, persons with disabilities, have much to contribute to their country.
Present at the event were the Plateau State Governor, the Minister of Art and Culture, Minister of State for Police, former Minister for Women Affairs and Minister for Youth and Sport, Sunday Dari, who took turns to share fond memories of their collaborations with Ambassador Isopi. They praised the ambassador's relentless effort in promoting EU-Nigerian relations, as well as her commitment to development and unwavering support for the Nigerian people.
I have come to sincerely appreciate her for her love and her commitment to development in Nigeria. And I believe with the resume of countries in which she has served, it shows clearly that she is one of the trusted diplomats that her country has put forward.
It's a beautiful evening, but it's a sad evening for me to imagine that we'll be missing a very dear sister, a very dear friend who has offered her life and service to Nigeria. Since she arrived in Nigeria 3 years ago, it has been wonderful. She's been so committed. And I remember the period I was in office, she gave us all the necessary support. Her passion for women and children is unparalleled.
During my time as minister, she actually reached out to me. And she was of immense support. Our depth about youth development is unquestionable. She was a spring of ideas. She was a fountain of support. And I think for me, what really endeared me to her was the fact that she loves this country.
I am pretty much sure that you have lived your life and you're still living, that the very day you will die, you will rejoice, and everyone around us, around you, will cry.
You have done so well, better than many. I've never seen the EU being led in the manner in which you did. They say when you want a job being done, you should give a woman.
I would support that strongly.
I've seen your passion, I've seen your dedication, your diligence. And that's what has, strengthened the relationship between the EU and Nigeria.
And I would like to thank the ambassador for the service that they've given to Nigeria and to your country. And we're looking forward to continued relationship as you move on to bigger and better things.
The farewell ceremony was a fitting tribute to Ambassador Isopi's outstanding service, marked by her tireless advocacy for human rights, gender equality and economic development. Her legacy will undoubtedly continue to inspire and shape the EU-Nigerian partnership for years to come. As Ambassador Isopi embarks on her new journey, leaving behind a trail of gratitude, respect and admiration from the Nigerian people and the EU community, her dedication, passion and leadership will be deeply missed, but her impact will remain a lasting testament to her remarkable tenure. Florence Joshua reporting for Clearview News Desk.
The Vietnamese ambassador to Nigeria, Bio Kok Hong, says Nigeria and his country stand to benefit a lot from their bilateral relationship that has existed over decades. The ambassador expressed optimism at a dinner in Abuja to celebrate the South Asian country's 79 years of independence. Clearview News has the report.
As Vietnam celebrates its 79th independence anniversary, its friends and well-wishers in Nigeria came together to reflect on the journey so far. The grim struggle against colonial masters, the great comeback from the civil wars, and its zero-tolerance posture to corruption were causes for celebration. The ambassador said Vietnam is building on the cordial relationship with Nigeria, just as it's doing with other countries.
No, actually, Vietnam and Nigeria had a very long tradition of relationship 50 years ago already, and then I think between the two countries we enjoyed kind of the very good bilateral relations in terms of politics, defense, and security, also especially agriculture cooperation. And between the two countries, I think there are a lot of other opportunities. For example, education, people-to-people exchange. But I want to focus more on cooperation between our two countries, because now Nigeria is facing food insecurity, and you need a lot of food. And we are also exporting a lot of rice and other agricultural products from Vietnam to the world, but not much to Nigeria. We are exporting more rice to Ghana than to Nigeria. So we want to not only export, but also to cooperate, coordinate, to work with Nigerian people, farmers, to grow rice by themselves. We can provide technical skills, we can provide our expertise from Vietnamese farmers, and we can also work on new seeds.
A foremost Nigerian ambassador to Vietnam, Sani Bako, and another public relations expert spoke on how the Asian country navigated the murky waters to attain world-class status and how Nigeria could borrow a leaf.
Business, investment, and the commercial relations cannot be done without information. A lot of Nigerians don't know much about Vietnam, the same way as a number of Vietnamese don't know much about Nigeria. So we need information. We have embassies, of course. You know, there is a Nigerian embassy in Hanoi, there is a Vietnamese embassy here. But, you know, we need people like you, really, you know, to come up with so many programs, you know, that will give both countries information about each and every one of them.
Quite a lot, because if we trade amongst ourselves, especially the underdeveloped countries, we will do better than be satellites of international organizations and countries. So that's part of the problems that we have, you know, in the third world. We are not developing and we are not trading amongst ourselves. You find that we trade more, even in Africa, we trade more with Europe and North America than we do with fellow Africans. That's a problem that we must solve.
The 79 years independence anniversary showcased the rich cultural heritage of Vietnam, from their cuisine to agriculture, and a collection from their historical museum. Vietnam got her independence in 1945 and ever since pursued a policy of self-reliance. Before the close of dinner, a handful of friends, especially from the diplomatic corps, joined the Vietnamese ambassador to cut the 79th anniversary cake.
And that's the news, but before we go, a recap of the top stories. The Nigeria Football Federation, NFF, has announced German tactician Bruno Labbadia as the head coach of Nigeria's senior men's team, Super Eagles, with immediate effect. A tea vendor identified as Abdurrashidu Yaho in Jigawa State has allegedly killed a 20-year-old man named Hassan Karuba over accusations of stealing bread, milk, noodles, and petrol. We also told you that the People's Democratic Party (PDP) Governors Forum has called on President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to demonstrate statesmanship by directing its officials to avoid engaging in blame games that portray subnational governments negatively. You can follow up on latest events and happenings around you via social media platforms on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at ClearviewNewsDesk, or via handle on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Clearview Online. Many thanks for watching. I am Imefonokun.